Hi everyone, just quickly before we start, you might notice that things are a little bit different from the neck up between the in-car stuff and like now. It's just that I record the in-car stuff when I've got the car obviously, but then sometimes things get pushed back a little bit, in this case by 6 months. And I've basically had a midlife crisis since then, as you can see. You probably didn't need to know that, but I'm just pointing it out because it looks weird, I know that. Okay, let's go. Any half-decent marketing person will tell you that an advert doesn't necessarily sell you a product, it sells you a lifestyle. Coca-Cola's the master at it.
I don't want you to be no slave. I just wanna make love to you, love to you.
As if people that drink Diet Coke aren't all self-loathing perpetual dieters. And so here's the Hyundai Kona Diet Coke style.
Kona by Hyundai. You drive it, you define it.
As if all the people who buy one of these aren't all doing stuff like you can't really blame Hyundai for trying to tart this thing up as a sexy lifestyle implementation device. Because, much like a can of low-calorie soda pop, the Kona here is just something that you use to fulfill a need and then quite quickly forget about. And that's despite Hyundai trying really hard to make this one of the more visually arresting of the many small crossovers on the market now. Whether it's successful or not is a matter of opinion, of course. But for me, the Kona is one of those cars that the more you look at it, the uglier it gets. That's because you'll start to notice all the things on it. It's busier than the Daily Mail's bikini and side boob correspondent. Look at all these lights at the front and all the plastic bits and this nose thing here. And then at the back, it's like they couldn't decide which light cluster to use, so they used both. But I suppose it's at least interesting, which is more than you can say for this environment here, straight from the I-30 school of design. And not the mental school that made that N version. The other one, the one aimed at the sort of person who gets all tingly at the thought of a 5-year unlimited mileage warranty. Now in that context, all the orange stuff here, which is optional obviously, is the proverbial granddad wearing Yeezys. Look beyond that and it's just not designed with that much flair. It's grey on grey on grey. And I mean it works pretty well. Very well. There's not much scope for confusion in here, it's very clear, but there are one or two odd decisions. Like this little section here is soft touch, but this panel on the top of the door card, rock hard. That seems a bit backwards because you'll basically prod that once or twice and that's it. Although having said that, it might prevent you from being one of those blokes that drives like this. The hallmark of an absolute Also, for a car that's so ostensibly sensible and practical, the door pockets, and I hate talking about door pockets, but I feel I've got to, are tiny, as is the central storage bin. And actually, in a wider sense, there just isn't masses of space here. Like, it feels a little bit cramped in the back. Same goes for the boot, which is fine, but it's also by volume one of the very smallest of all these compact crossover things. Having said that, if you buy a base model, you get a slightly bigger boot because that's got a tyre inflation kit rather than a spare wheel. So that's something to think about. But you know, it is what it is, and you would still call it a practical little car. Split folding rear bench, flat loading floor, acceptable. Which is a word that can readily be used to describe the whole driving experience. And that's another reason why the Kona is the sort of car you buy if you buy your cars for perfunctory transport. It's got a good driving position, good visibility, lots of height and glass. And again, a fiddle-free cabin that allows you to do the basic stuff like turn the temperature up or the radio down without getting really vexed. You'd be surprised how many cars get that wrong. You could pick at it if you wanted. The ride's a little bit on the firm side, and that's exaggerated if you've got a higher level Kona on bigger wheels. But the advantage of that is that it's slightly less sloppy to drive than some other high-sided hatchbacks. Keeps the body fairly stable during cornering. And when you are cornering, the steering feels quite quick, so you can get some sort of enjoyment out of driving this thing if you really try hard enough. The other thing about the quick steering is that around town, it's a boon. Yep, I just said boon. An unusual downside to that characteristic though is that it contributes to a feeling that this is a little bit out of its depth on the motorway. 70 miles per hour, the steering's a bit too sharp, makes it feel a bit twitchy. It's also flipping noisy at times as well. For example, I did a 500-mile trip up and down the A1 last week in this, and it was comfy enough. But you know, you're driving along and every now and again you feel like you need to turn the radio up a bit, and then all of a sudden you realise that you're enveloped in this din. And it's because as you've been getting faster or the road surface has changed, you've been battling with the outside noise. Well, that happened a couple of times, and that's generally a small car trait. Largely because of the engine, of course. I was driving a top-level petrol car with 4-wheel drive and a 7-speed twin-clutch automatic gearbox. You see, I'm saying it with enthusiasm as though I can remember what it was actually like. And it is a nice gearbox, honestly, especially around the doors. Like, it's very smooth to shift gear like all of these twin clutch autos are. But even when the gearbox is holding you at fairly low revs, this is still a really noisy engine. And you expect that with a diesel normally, but not with a petrol. And despite statistics that make it look like it'll be fairly rapid, in reality, it doesn't feel that way at all. And the fuel economy's pretty crap. Now, you could get a diesel and sort that bit out, but then it would be even noisier, and if you don't do many miles, then it's never worth buying a diesel. Or there is another option, you could get a full electric version of the Kona while losing pretty much nothing in practicality. And it looks better because it's less fussy, and it comes in 2 states of tune. So while I would say that it's definitely worth looking at, I've not actually driven one, and let's be honest, electric cars are still a niche concern, so let's move on. To the version I would recommend, which is the 3-cylinder petrol. More economical than the 4-cylinder, cheaper to buy, much quieter than the diesel, more character, more suited to lower mileage, and easily enough power for a car like this. It's a cliche, but nonetheless true, that when you buy a car like this, you're far more likely to be concerned about how it swallows stuff for the tip than how it swallows corners. You know what I mean? It's more pertinent that it's practical than that it's dynamic. And in the same way, you're probably also more concerned about the stuff that it has and what you get for your money. That's fair enough. In short, it's not the budget choice, but it is reasonably priced and it's very well equipped, starting with the S model, whose name gives me the opportunity to show you the best car-based joke of all time.
This snail is standing in front of the Cadillac salesman, see? He said, I want a big S put on each door. Oh, the salesman says, but what do you want that for? He said, well, you see, when I drive down the avenue, I want everybody to say, look at that S car go.
Anyways, the S car does give you all the standard stuff that you need, and if you want to go deeper into the spec, you can do so at the Honest John website. I'll put the link below. But let's say that you can't be bothered to look at that and you just want to know which is the version of this that you should buy. In my opinion, it's this one. Significantly less than £20,000, very sensible, lots of equipment, petrol engine, 5-star Euro NCAP safety rating, basically the ultimate runabout for a grandma or a granddad with a bit of an edge. So there you go, thanks for watching, appreciate it. Much more on this over at the Honest John website. Please hit subscribe and please comment below, and the more hurtful the better, because I put that stuff on Twitter and it seems to do better than everything else that I put on Twitter. So thanks, see you soon, bye.